Across the world, hundreds of individuals are patrolling the streets of their hometowns, seeking out injustices where they might be of service. Some are looking for crime to document, report, or in rare cases, intervene. Others are simply hoping to inspire their community with small acts of heroism, such as handing out food to the hungry or giving a car ride to a would-be drunk driver. As homage to their comic book inspirations, they adopt colorful costumes and pseudonyms, like Redbud Woman and the Crimson CANUCK. Each has a different MO. Polar Man travels the streets of Canada, shoveling snow from driveways. The DC Guardian patrols the United States Capitol, handing out copies of the Constitution. Most consider their efforts a type of inspirational cosplay, with a bit of live-action roleplay included for theatrical effect. But of those who have truly modeled themselves after their fictional counterparts, who devote their lives to martial arts training, push their bodies to peak fitness, confront criminals who react violently toward them, and operate alongside a police force who are continuously looking for reasons to get them off the street, there may only be one.
Furthermore, whenever you inject yourself into an issue, there's always the problem that could get worse, and that is people can misconstrue intentions, it can escalate the situation.
Armed with a $10,000 bulletproof suit, a stun baton, 2 million Scoville pepper spray, and a GoPro, Phoenix Jones is perhaps the closest thing to a comic book hero we've ever seen. And during his decade of activity, his fans have watched him transform from hero to anti-hero and finally, to what he'd fought so long to protect Seattle against.
I guess it's true, what they say. You live long enough as the hero, see yourself become the villain.
Very bad.
I guess.
This is the rise and fall of Phoenix Jones. His full title is Phoenix Jones, Guardian of Seattle, and his story begins in late 2010 when local news began reporting on a mysterious figure who, nearly every night, disappeared into the hidden room of a comic book shop and emerged in a black and gold costume. In the beginning, the learning curve for what he hoped to accomplish proved steep. Patrolling areas rich with nightlife, Jones would occasionally encounter little more than an obnoxious bar patron who needed calming down. Finding crime was nearly as difficult as fighting it. It was pretty embarrassing, Jones told a reporter of Seattle Met, speaking of his early patrols. I walked around downtown and didn't see any crime. But in January of 2011, Jones began to cut his teeth on the extreme brand of heroics that he would ultimately become known for.
One local man came within seconds of having his car broken into, perhaps stolen, until a superhero came to his rescue.
And you just start sticking it down inside between the window here and the rubber strip.
Dan was calling 911, but help flew in before he finished dialing.
From the right, this guy comes dashing in, just wearing this skin-tight rubber black and golden suit and starts chasing him away.
The attention Jones got from the single incident solidified his niche in crime fighting. In order to separate himself from the growing community of other real-life superheroes, Jones believed he would have to put himself in the precarious situations that others wouldn't dream of. As he continued, Jones began breaking up street fights, attempting to intimidate drug dealers, and in doing so, incurred many injuries.
But a man held him at gunpoint Saturday night while another kicked him and broke his nose.
It's under my eye over here on this.
I can see your eye, it's all swollen.
But the injuries didn't deter him. He appeared to romanticize the bellicose portrayals of comic book heroes, and he was on his way to becoming one, despite the attempts of Seattle police to dissuade him.
And now police say enough is enough. Someone's gonna end up dead.
Don't insert yourself into those situations. If you see something, call 911.
Law enforcement weren't the only ones to disapprove. Jones was largely condemned by other costume heroes who considered him delusional and worried his efforts would be harmful to their overall reputation. For the first time, we have someone who agrees with our overall purpose but doesn't agree with our methods, Portland, Oregon-based hero Night Owl told the Wall Street Journal.
It's not putting on a super suit and finding bad guys to fight. Real life isn't that way. Real crime fighting doesn't work that way. If you act that way, you're probably gonna make things worse.
Jones was certainly an outlier in the real-life superhero community, a community which can be traced back to the 1970s with a charismatic Californian known as Captain Sticky. Retiring in his 20s after inventing corrugated fiberglass, Richard Pesta of San Diego devoted his life to becoming America's first Cape Crusader. Like many after him, Captain Sticky's approach was non-violent. His costume and outrageous persona served as bait for the media, who gave him the platform he needed to speak out against injustices, such as the poor conditions of elderly homes or greedy auto mechanics upcharging their less knowledgeable customers. Of the modern era, many cite Master Legend of Florida as one of the first to seek out crime and physically intervene.
Get a taste of that the next time you want to hurt a little kid.
Patrolling Winter Park just outside of Orlando, Master Legend comes equipped with his Master Blaster, a homemade cannon that fires plastic Easter eggs filled with cayenne pepper and rock salt.
Oh, nice.
While Master Legend and Captain Sticky were novelties at their time of arrival, in recent decades an influx of individuals following in their footsteps began to permeate the streets of metropolitan cities. Mr. Full Moon of Tokyo, Japan, the Black Rat of Sydney, Australia. The more news outlets reported on these individuals, the more they seemed to crop up.
He calls himself the Shadow Hair.
Names like Asylum, Fool King, and Professor Midnight.
Although often accused of being naive, many of these heroes understand the scope of what they can realistically accomplish inside the law. While ideologies vary within these individuals and organizations, common mantras include staying safe, remaining on the good side of law enforcement, and making a difference where one can. But not only did Phoenix Jones stand in stark contrast with his community, he seemed to look down on them. "I don't call them real-life superheroes," he told writer John Ronson, who interviewed Jones in an emergency room as he was being treated for a stab wound. "I call them real-life sandwich handlers." But this separation from the community didn't seem to hinder Phoenix. On the contrary, by mid-2011, Phoenix was well on his way to becoming the world's most famous real-life superhero. During his patrols, Jones would be approached for pictures, autographs, even requests for video shoutouts.
This is Phoenix Jones. If you're not listening to bass rock, you're foolish right now. Seriously.
And it wasn't long before Phoenix managed to inspire a small coalition of like-minded individuals who costumed themselves to join him on patrol. El Caballero, whose appearance seemed to pay tribute to luchadors, became one of Jones's closest allies.
And you're not a wimp if you call 911.
Purple Rain, whose focus was domestic assault awareness and prevention, served as strategist and monitored a police radio in order to direct the group to where they might be needed.
So I went to the City of Seattle's website where the police file all their reports, so I look and see what kinds of crimes are happening, if the police respond, and I just factor in all this different data. And I say, you know what, this is where we need to be, and that's how we find crime.
Phoenix had very specific attributes he wanted in his fellow superheroes. They needed to know how to fight. Military and martial arts background was a strict prerequisite, and the recruits stayed sharp with regular training.
Average police response time in Seattle is 5 minutes. We're going to try to basically hold off an attacker, me, Evo being the superhero. We're going to try to keep it going for about 5 minutes is the goal.
By late 2011, the group had accumulated around 10 members. With names like Buster Doe, Midnight Jack, and Red Dragon, they were a diverse cast of characters. But unified under the leadership of Phoenix Jones, they became the Rain City superhero movement.
Pitch Black's gonna go undercover and attempt to make a drug buy. I don't usually look like this. And once he sees the drugs or the thing, we're gonna come in and bust him. Here's what's going on. We got cameras all over, and we saw what was going on, and we came in here because we saw what's going on. We're not putting up with it anymore. We're tired of it. Bad people keep selling drugs in the city, polluting the block, and we're just not putting up with it. Hey, this is a bitch. It's kind of funny, but I'm dead serious.
Phoenix's approach remained polarizing. As he often invited camera crews to follow him on patrol, some sensed Jones cared more about his own celebrity than improving his community. Have you really made the best uses of media attention to further the causes you claim to serve? Fellow Seattle-based hero Ravenblade asked in an open letter to Jones. Have you really acted like a hero? The criticism was largely engulfed by outspoken supporters who considered Phoenix Jones the first legitimate real-life superhero, a distinction from the costume street performers many had come to associate with the movement.
Get down! Riot shield up! Riot shield up!
They continued, allegedly chasing down a suspect in a stabbing, even stopping a bus from being hijacked. Phoenix and Purple Rain were married, and the two of them together serving as the dual public face of the group seemed to be good PR. Interviewers and media outlets were divided, some wishing to scold the heroes.
It's about Nightwing and Batgirl, isn't it? I mean, that's what it is. It's more about that than anything else, is it not?
Some choosing instead to highlight their accomplishments.
Tell us what happened the night Phoenix saved your life.
A man was getting violent with security at a nightclub. He proceeded to get violent with me and my group of friends. Phoenix ran in and pepper sprayed the guy and defused the entire situation.
How did you hear about it?
The group was earning a bit of respect, and with Seattle having a crime rate 126% above the national average, receiving an F rank on AreaVibes.com, the Rain City superhero movement had their work cut out for them. But the interventionist approach the heroes employed often skirted the lines of legality.
Put your hands. Stay right here. Stay down.
The process of a citizen's arrest which the heroes regularly performed is a complicated and unpredictable one, as it's often easy to mistake the context of a given situation. Jeremy McHenry of MPS Security Services had this to say of the concept of a citizen's arrest. You're going to be sued if you mess up. You can be arrested for making a false arrest. Many understood that Jones's reckless approach would sooner or later catch up with him, so it was no surprise that in late 2011, the inevitable happened.
A so-called superhero in Seattle is under arrest.
Phoenix and fellow hero Ghost were out on patrol when they witnessed a crowd of people congregating beneath a viaduct. From the distance up the street where the heroes stood, it looked like a street fight. Phoenix ran in, shouting to the group to break it up, instructing Ghost to dial 911 as was their protocol. But rather than thanking Phoenix for his assistance, the group turned on him. Phoenix, unable to verbally control the situation, employed the use of his pepper spray. The police arrived soon after, their patience with Jones already spent, and took statements from both parties. According to Jones, what he thought he was running into was an assault. But according to a police report, the group was, quote, dancing and frolicking around with each other when a masked man came running and shouting toward them, coating the area in pepper spray. The last paragraph of the police report notes that this was the second complaint of the night regarding Jones, who had pepper sprayed a group of nightclub patrons some hours earlier. Although Jones was gone by the time the officer arrived at the scene, he described the distinct scent of pepper spray lingering in the air. The Seattle Police Department decided to make an example out of Phoenix, and he was arrested for assault. After sitting in a jail cell overnight, Jones made his $3,800 bail and emerged to a team of reporters waiting outside the courthouse. Phoenix welcomed them to congregate around him, and in a move that shocked everyone, he unmasked himself and greeted the cameras for the first time as Benjamin Fodor.
I'm Phoenix Jones. I'm also Ben Fodor. I also protect the city. I also am a father. I also am a brother. I'm just like everyone else.
Born in Texas in 1988, Benjamin Fodor spent time in orphanages before finding a family and relocating to the Pacific Northwest. Benjamin and his brother Karos both shared a love of fighting. Each pursued competitive mixed martial arts at a young age. According to Tapology.com, Benjamin, who fought under the name Flat Top, boasted an impressive amateur record of 11 wins and no losses. But whereas his brother continued into the professional ranks of organizations such as Strikeforce and UFC, his younger brother Benjamin decided to put his skills to more unconventional uses. But aside from the martial arts background, the conditions which stemmed the most well-known real-life superhero couldn't have been more unassuming. Benjamin was a father of 2 working at a daycare for children with special needs. His origin story goes like this. One morning, Benjamin found his car broken into, his driver's side window shattered, and a black ski mask laying atop the broken glass on the street. His son, cutting himself in the glass, had to be taken to the emergency room. Phoenix kept the mask, and days later, when a close friend was assaulted outside of a nightclub while a group of spectators watched, too afraid to intervene, Phoenix decided the ski mask would serve as the basis for an alternate identity. A moniker was chosen. The word Phoenix has roots in Greek folklore associated with rebirth. Jones, one of the most common American last names, is meant to represent the notion that ordinary citizens can hold others accountable for their actions. His costume was commissioned from Extreme Design FX and then sent to Baker Ballistics in order to be reinforced with bulletproof and stab-resistant plating. In an article from My Northwest, Fodor detailed some of his earliest attempts at vigilantism, well before he'd attracted any media attention. Confused as to how to begin, Benjamin took to simply brooding on rooftops. One night, upon witnessing a mugging, he climbed down the building's fire escape, a task which took minutes, only to find the criminal long gone by the time he reached the street. He'd purchased a net launcher reminiscent of the old campy Batman comics. Contrary to how he'd imagined the usage of this device playing out, Jones ended up trapping himself in it and was spotted by a passing police officer who took the opportunity to laugh and take a few pictures before cutting him loose. Early Phoenix Jones also carried with him a grappling hook which seemed to fit with his persona but had no practical value. "You think you're going to scale a building?" a friend critiqued. "What are you going to do when you get up there? Swoop down? Parachute down? You're not going to have enough distance for the parachute to even open." Although fans appreciated this insight into the man behind the mask, this move proved detrimental to Benjamin personally, as he was subsequently fired from his job at the daycare. And his custom-made suit was confiscated for evidence.
So why did they confiscate your suit?
So the politically correct answer is, to do an accurate investigation, we need to have everything that was involved. The fact that your identity was concealed by a supersuit, therefore makes it evidence that we need to take to prove that you are the man underneath the suit.
Despite the feedback that he should put his persona of Phoenix Jones to rest, Benjamin doubled down. He had a backup suit, and he was confident the assault charges would be dropped once the video evidence came out. The evidence in question was obtained by videographer Ryan McNamee, who had been documenting the Rain City Heroes' nightly exploits. Based on the title Phoenix Jones Stops Assault, Ryan's first-hand interpretations of events differ from the reporting police officers. Many of the video's comments seem to also side with Phoenix. Even Jones's detractors suggested the arrest was an excuse to deter him. Later that month, the charges were dropped. And despite media outlets, both corporate and independent, offering harsh criticisms over the fiasco.
What an idiot. Okay.
That was awesome. That's the girl he's supposed to be helping. She's like, "You fucking pepper sprayed me, you idiot."
Phoenix Jones was on his way to unprecedented stardom. Jones was back with renewed enthusiasm and a steady stream of encouragement from the largest fan base he'd ever had. But on the night of April 22, 2012, a tragic and random act of violence would mark a distinct attitude shift in Phoenix and the Rain City superhero movement. It was after midnight. 21-year-old Nicole Westbrook and her boyfriend were walking through Pioneer Square after leaving a comedy show, when suddenly, shots rang out.
Gunshots! Gunshots! Gunshots!
Phoenix, along with Purple Rain and Pitch Black, ran toward the sound. Jones caught a glimpse of someone in a gray backpack as the potential shooter and followed him on foot for several blocks until police arrived.
There he is. There's the shooter. Backpack running. Backpack running? Backpack running. Backpack running. Backpack running.
Having been shot through the cheek, Nicole suffered a shattered spine. An ambulance rushed her to the hospital where she passed away shortly after. Nicole was not believed to be the intended target. The source of the gunfire was determined to have been a drive-by shooting, leading police to believe the hooded figure the heroes were chasing was the target. The case of Nicole Westbrook remains open to this day, and anyone with potential information is encouraged to contact the Seattle Police Department. Jones would go on to cite the tragedy as his biggest failure.
And she's up the street and the medics are taking her away. The fire engine drives by and just washes the blood off the sidewalk, and it runs down into a drain, and I just keep sitting on the sidewalk at this point. And people start walking by for work and just do their normal everyday life. And my world is completely changed, and everyone else is exactly the same.
This event would continue to ripple throughout Jones's crime-fighting career, especially in his later years. But directly following the tragedy, there was scarcely time to process. Just a week later, Seattle was to host the May Day protest.
May Day mayhem in Seattle. Demonstrations turned violent as thousands of people clogged downtown streets.
Originally in response to poor labor conditions, the May Day protests began in Europe during the late 19th century and persist even today all across the world. Always held on May 1st, these events occasionally escalate in violent and unpredictable ways.
Broken glass, buildings and cars covered with spray paint. Tonight, downtown Seattle.
Phoenix Jones, along with Midnight Jack and El Caballero, were patrolling the protest, attempting to deter and control outbursts, when a protester inadvertently revealed a plan to blow up the Seattle courthouse.
The crowd was actually rumoring a bomb blowing up a building?
Yeah, that's what the people with the black masks were rumoring, because they're kind of dumb, and I don't know if they haven't been to Seattle, but they didn't know that I'm not part of their crew. So they just kept telling me stuff.
So you were infiltrating them? They thought because you
were just walking and they were wearing masks and we were.
Right, but because you are dressed up as a superhero, they thought this guy must be into craziness like us.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Phoenix and his colleagues attempted to notify the police, but they didn't seem to take the testimonials seriously.
You hear rumblings of this and you let the Seattle police know. Tell me how that conversation went.
Well, there wasn't really a conversation. I said, "Excuse me, sir, can I talk to you?" And he said, "We're busy." And I said, "I'm well aware, can I talk to you?" He said, "Yeah, give me a few minutes. Here's my card."
Oh.
And then that was it.
Here's my card? Police officer gave you his card?
Fearing an escalation, they followed the crowd of protesters to the courthouse, and it was there they witnessed rocks and something which was believed to be a failed explosive device being thrown through the glass windows and doors. Knowing Phoenix would be apprehensive to use pepper spray following his assault charge, Midnight Jack opted to be the one to incapacitate the group. When the police arrived, they arrested 8 of the protesters for destruction of public property. The group received their share of disapproving opinions. Gawker reporter Adrian Chin described Phoenix as a combination of Batman and a mall cop. But one of the more entertaining opposers of the Rain City Heroes was a filmmaker named Ryan Corey, who decided the thing the group was truly missing was a villain.
My name is Rex Velvet, the people's villain, if you will. Before you jump to conclusions, let me tell you that I'm a fair negotiator and businessman. But I will not back down from you, Jones, until this city is rid of you.
His attempts to bait Phoenix into a campy online rivalry failed, but Ryan Corey, stylizing himself as the villain Rex Velvet, continued, calling into radio shows while in character, and managed to turn their fake rivalry into a moderately successful web series.
Phoenix Jones, you have met your match.
Other supervillains joined in. Parody characters which targeted Jones began cropping up across YouTube and other social media.
Mr. Grimm here.
Yeah, Phoenix, I done created something now. I got a new project that's gonna turn the whole world against you.
But Ryan Corey and others would have to settle for a one-sided online feud. Jones simply took himself too seriously to engage with them.
Rex Velvet is on the other line.
Rex Velvet is on the other line.
The guy who made that promo that you heard.
I encourage, if you guys want to talk to him, you go right ahead. I don't have anything to say to him because I live in the real world, and I don't promote or accept or even acknowledge people who want to do acts of villainy of any kind, even if it's not real.
I told you. Look at you, Phoenix Jones.
Priorities shifted for Jones in November of that year when a video patrol log went viral, propelling his already budding celebrity into then uncharted territories.
University Way, between 45th and 47th. Suspect wearing an orange shirt. De-escalation does not appear to be working just yet.
While on patrol with 4 other local heroes, Phoenix confronted a man punching the window of a parked car and shouting obscenities at the passengers inside. Police arrived shortly after with the heroes content to let them handle the situation. But after the assailant shouted a racial slur at Phoenix, Jones challenged him to mutual combat.
Yo, Washington's a mutual combat state. If you'd like to agree to fight, we can do that if you'd like to. You want to fight? If you would like to.
Mutual combat laws allow 2 consenting parties to engage in a street fight, as long as no bystanders are hurt or property damaged. Often cited as a vestige of dueling, mutual combat remains legal in portions of the United States, such as Washington State and Texas.
PJ has offered to engage suspect in orange shirt to mutual combat under the laws of Washington State. Suspect appears ready to fight.
Sealing the deal with a handshake and under the supervision of police officers, Phoenix Jones proceeded to knock out his opponent.
Fighting the suspect. Suspect is down.
This video, posted to Phoenix Jones's YouTube channel, garnered widespread reaction and commentary.
Oh, that's when you know you made a mistake. Yep. That first leg kick, you see the guy moving around.
Phoenix's celebrity and public presence were at an all-time high. Podcasts, talk shows, public service announcements, Jones rarely turned down an opportunity.
From the behalf of the Rain City superhero movement and costume discounters, you guys have a safe and fun Halloween. See you in the streets.
He did a Reddit Ask Me Anything, which was kind of bizarre, but provided insight into the kind of chaotic individual Phoenix was. Leading his fellow heroes into 2013, Jones would experience a brief golden age of heightened popularity, strong relations with police, and a series of disciplined, systematic patrols. But unbeknownst to Phoenix, a hidden fault line was beginning to appear, one which would not only grow to jeopardize the movement, but would foreshadow Phoenix's ultimate and unexpected fall from grace.
Awesome. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our patrol tonight.
Yes, hello, all 4 of you.
All right, I am pulling up the crime trends in Seattle lately here so we can see exactly what's going on.
Would you like us to come over there and take a look, babe?
Yeah.
All right, let's go take a look here.
With more fame than any real-life superhero had ever experienced, Jones began to assume a leadership role in not only the local superhero scene, but the national one. In February of 2013, he posted a video to his YouTube channel directly addressing other heroes, setting a strict standard of behavior he expected from them.
This is what's up. There's a lot of superheroes out here who are doing really stupid crap, and eventually we're all going to get shut down. You guys don't realize it, but there's a war going on out there you don't know about. And that war starts with the government not liking unregulated anything in mass numbers. There's 250 of us to 300 of us walking around with absolutely no accountability. It's going to stop pretty much now.
According to Jones, heroes had been patrolling with illegal weapons, regularly breaking laws under a misguided notion of vigilantism. Phoenix was worried such missteps would cause a nationwide crackdown, potentially ruining the movement for everyone.
We really have to come together, get this whole thing together, get a regimented way to do this before we get shut down.
Jones considered his brand of heroics to be one of the few sustainable out there. But his crew was small, and out of 300 heroes operating across the United States, the Rain City branch only accounted for 15. Phoenix unveiled an umbrella organization he referred to as the Alliance, which acted as a registry for heroes where they agreed to several of Jones's rules, including wearing a bulletproof vest.
And now people are going to say, well, I just hand out food. Yeah, but I came along and I changed the face of real-life superheroing. Every criminal in the world who is aware of superheroes, when they look at you, they think that you fight crime. That's what they think you do. So whether you want to go out there and hand out a sandwich or not, you're still in danger of being injured. Don't be stupid, be prepared.
The selection for new recruits in Phoenix's hometown became increasingly rigorous, and in an interview with KIRO Radio, Jones admitted to rejecting 100% of the incoming applications.
The Rain City superhero movement is hiring, and applications are available right now.
So far, I've rejected 6 of the 6 applications I've got, where they're like, I'm 7 feet tall and super buff right now. I don't know if there's a mask that'll fit over my giant meathead, but it's cool. I just want to walk around and punch people. Let's go. And I'm like, no.
At this point, Phoenix had been patrolling the streets almost nightly for nearly 3 years. In the beginning, he was critical of inaction, or what he called sandwich handling, but his new focus seemed to be on personal restraint. Although martial arts or military experience remained a prerequisite for joining, Phoenix began to reject people if they showed any inkling of violent tendencies.
I think there are some people in the city who are up to no good and need to be taught a lesson. On the other hand, there are lots of good people in the city who get taken advantage of on a regular basis, and that needs to stop.
Second part of the answer, awesome. First part of the answer worries me. Anytime anyone says needs to be taught a lesson, I get uncomfortable. Your demeanor doesn't strike me as generally violent type. You know, it could be the Clark Kent glasses throwing me off. We don't get to teach lessons. We get to stop people perpetrating crimes, and we get to give them to the authorities that are supposed to uphold the values that we all voted for.
His patrols became highly systematic. A weekly schedule was posted, with each patrol group consisting of a team leader, a medic, and a radio operator. Phoenix claimed the movement now included a legal team, although to what capacity I'm not sure. Aspiring heroes would be subjected to a probation period, and they would be unable to even choose a name or a costume until they joined in 15 patrols, stopped a violent crime, assisted in a medical situation, ran the GoPro, ran the live stream, and written several patrol logs. At this point, the team would take a vote to determine whether the applicant became a full member.
With this application, you're extremely underqualified. But the part of it that I do like is it was really well thought out. As far as joining the main group of the RCSM, I think you would probably end up getting hurt.
The majority of video logs on Jones's YouTube channel were uploaded during this period. On the surface, their operation seemed to be running more smoothly than ever. A lawful, by-the-book protocol enforced by Jones, diligent documentation, regular check-ins with the radio operator and other heroes.
I'm close enough to Red to make contact. Should I do that? Over?
And thanks to the generosity of their fans, they were able to record evidence of most encounters, which seemed to result in a much healthier relationship with the Seattle police.
Officer Floyd. Hey, we have a video of the beginning of those guys over here pretending to flash or even maybe flashing the real gun. And there was a little altercation. I also confiscated some black tar heroin off and threw it down a drain. I got all that on video if you need it. Yeah, I got it on video if you need that.
Recovering stolen bikes, addressing medical concerns others simply ignored, exposing individuals soliciting sex acts from the homeless.
The crazy thing is, I got a masked man following me.
Yeah.
Right now.
The crazier thing was when you paid a homeless crack addict to suck your dick. That's crazy.
I didn't.
It's on tape.
On slow crime nights, they handed out sandwiches, in contrast to Jones's previous disparaging remarks. However, things were not quite as harmonious as they seemed. An argument over a helmet, which El Caballero accused Phoenix of stealing, caused his longtime sidekick to abruptly leave the group. But most shocking of all was the sudden departure of Purple Rain. In November, Purple Rain made a social media post stating that she and Jones were separating and would not be working together on any future projects. Purple Rain opted to keep the details of their separation private, a difficult boundary between public and personal life when the two have so much overlap. But her fans seemed to respect her decision. With the loss of his two closest allies, Jones found himself unable to stop a growing mutiny of disgruntled heroes, ready to expose the flaws of their leader and ultimately bring about the end of the Rain City superhero movement for good.
Legion, I just want to beat the fuck out of this guy.
He's not worth it.
God, I'm having one of these moments right now.
Come on.
Although Phoenix's celebrity continued to increase, even landing a cameo in the PlayStation 4 title Infamous Second Son, those who remained close to Jones knew the movement was coming to an end. The domino effect of Purple Rain and El Caballero leaving inspired others to do the same, taking to social media to air grievances about their leader on the way out. In a post that began, "Phoenix Jones is a con artist thief," Shockwave leveled some startling accusations against Phoenix. As per Jones's instruction, each hero was required to purchase a bulletproof vest, a payment which they handed directly to Jones, who claimed to have cut a deal with the manufacturer. However, as months went by, no one received their vest. Jones had also been requiring the Rain City heroes to pay monthly dues for a health insurance plan in case they were hurt on patrol, but many began to suspect there was no such insurance as Jones failed to produce any sort of documentation. Perhaps the most damning of all were the attacks against Jones's integrity as a crime fighter. Phoenix Jones preys on people exiting bars drunken, unable to function normally, Shockwave claimed, citing the Mutual Combat video for evidence. Would MMA allow one fighter to be drunk while the other is sober? Accusations of exaggerating his heroics and spinning the narrative in his favor were nothing new for Phoenix, although until this point they'd come from heroes and spectators outside the Rain City movement. But this was coming from someone who patrolled with Phoenix, who knew what he was like when the livestream was turned off. El Caballero, Shockwave, and Dragon founded a new organization called Echo. They continued to patrol Seattle, regularly making appearances at the recurring May Day protest, but their audience failed to grow to Phoenix-like proportions. In May of 2014, Phoenix Jones announced that the Rain City superhero movement was officially over. Jones's statement didn't address any of the aforementioned accusations, but instead cited other reasons for the disbandment. Certain members cannot run 2.5 miles in 30 minutes, Jones stated, or do 5 pull-ups or 25 sit-ups and believe it's okay to carry illegal weapons. Rex Velvet made a Facebook post celebrating the end of the movement, asking former members to air their dirty laundry about Phoenix for a video he would produce. It's unclear whether any of the former members took Velvet up on his offer, but checking Ryan Corey's YouTube page, it appears no such video has yet been made. Jones, now primarily a solo hero, continued fighting crime in Seattle. His enthusiasm seemed undiminished as the patrol logs on his YouTube channel were uploaded at more or less the same consistency.
Hey, this is Phoenix Jones. Found a guy who was over here at the store, stole some detergent, took off running, clearly homeless. This is the worst part of my job. Stealing is stealing. I'm not gonna let you get away with that, especially detergent. This new way to get high with detergent, I found out. No problem. There's your stuff back, man. No problem. Thanks, man. Sorry about that. I hate that kind of stuff, but what can you do, right?
Wow, you guys are like superheroes, or?
Yeah, we do like kind of like a neighborhood patrol. But
oh, okay.
Yeah, so be safe, man. Really sorry that happened to you.
He returned to competitive mixed martial arts, fighting under his alias and often accepting match decisions while in costume.
Vigilante Phoenix Jones!
A rivalry between his older brother Karos, which has reportedly existed since childhood, made for good promotion for upcoming fights, and the advertisements leaned heavily on the superhero motif Phoenix had cultivated. The majority of his fan base stayed by his side, offering support on social media and YouTube as he continued to break up street fights, catch shoplifters, and even create a database of stolen vehicles in the Seattle area. But the twilight years of the Phoenix Jones character weren't free from controversy, particularly in 2015 when Jones had a comic book series commissioned about himself. The events depicted were based on Jones's patrol logs and personal journal entries. Many classic Jones tales were included, but depictions of the Nicole Westbrook murder seemed in poor taste. As Jones told Seattle radio host Jason Rance, he'd submitted the comic book to the Jet City Comic Con, where it was originally accepted, but once it was known the events depicted were real, Jones was asked to withdraw it.
No, there were no real major complaints. A couple people came up and just said that, they didn't like it and thought it was too real. And I said, well, if you want to read a fake comic book, get a Batman comic book. If you want to read about my life and you want to help someone and maybe get the case back out in the news and maybe get somebody to know what happened, then read my comic book.
And yet at the same time, a comic book like this opens you up to the criticism that you might be profiting off of the death of someone. How do you respond to that?
I don't know. I guess I'm just telling my story, and this happens to be a part of my story. And this incident is just so important to the person that I became and the choices that I made.
Nicole Westbrook's sister spoke out in support of the comic, citing that it could raise awareness of the still unsolved case. Phoenix's behavior over the years became stranger and more erratic, such as this incident in 2016 where he claimed to have knocked someone unconscious and left them on the street, opting to tweet at the police rather than call 911. Jones specified that he, quote, left the guy my card so that when he wakes up he can call me if he has a problem. When asked what he meant by his card, Jones explained it was a print of this glamour shot, along with the phone number of his attorney. More shocking still was this post to the rBodyCam subreddit, which shows police responding to a former friend of Jones's who'd reported the hero came to his apartment, his knuckles wrapped for a fight, threatening his life.
I guess last night I hit on one of his girlfriends that he didn't like, and he started slandering me all over Facebook, and then he came here threatening me, said he was going to beat me and piss on my face, and then when she went downstairs to tell him to leave, he said if I didn't come out, he was going to kick the door in. He also said he was going to kill me, that I need to be dead. I have all these screenshots on
Yeah, he texted him
On-
saying that he would
I have
follow him
them all
around.
on my phone.
He would find him.
And kill me.
So
Something was clearly happening to Phoenix Jones, and his audience began to see the dark side of his impulsive personality. By February of 2019, Phoenix hadn't uploaded a patrol log to his YouTube channel in 3.5 years. So it wasn't a surprise when he formally announced his intention to take a break from crime fighting. But what was surprising were Jones's cynical reasons for the hiatus. "I don't think people are mostly good," Phoenix wrote. "I don't think I've met enough people I would get shot to save. I don't think people would get shot to save me. I was wrong. Maybe everything I've ever believed in was wrong." When asked to reflect on his career, interviewers were met with a Phoenix who was oddly defensive of his legacy, and adamant about his distinction from other so-called real-life superheroes.
So how many crimes have any other superheroes other than me stopped in Washington State?
Well, you're the only one I think anybody's aware of, so yeah.
Okay, so then you're asking me a question about superheroes.
Right.
These guys are going to a neighborhood they don't know, dressed in outfits that are not the same, that are not uniform, with skills that are not good. I mean, handing out food to homeless people. I mean, you are a LARPer. You are a LARPer with a bag of food. I am a superhero.
Although Phoenix had always displayed a certain degree of bravado, his trademark altruism seemed to have been replaced with resentment and misanthropy.
I put people away. I'm a superhero. I'm the only real one. It's not a joke. It's not a game. We're not talking about the kind of superhero. I'm a real fucking superhero.
Phoenix Jones was retiring with a questionable reputation, but his fans seemed content to remember him for the self-sacrifice of his early years, reassuring him that when he's ready to return, they'll be there to support him. But in January of 2020, shocking news broke that would forever change the public's perception of Phoenix Jones.
Phoenix Jones, you're a fucking asshole is what you are. You're not a fucking hero, you're a fucking fraud.
Okay, then maybe you should. Are you going to behave yourself? Tell me you're going to behave yourself. Say, I'm going to behave myself. Are you going to behave yourself?
That's what I do.
Good. So are you going to behave yourself?
Yes, I will.
Say you're going to behave yourself.
I'll behave myself.
Thank you. Have a good day.
During the months following Phoenix's retirement, his social media remained active and would even occasionally feature something resembling a video log. Jones seemed reluctant to give up the superhero persona despite no longer donning the costume for regular patrols. But toward the end of the year came a sudden absence. The videos, the tweets, it all abruptly stopped. Not known for shunning the limelight, Phoenix's drop in activity was unusual. But fans wouldn't know why until 2 months later, when news broke of Phoenix Jones's latest and most unexpected arrest. As articles from the Seattle Times, Newsweek, and many other sources report, in November of 2019, 2 confidential witnesses approached the Seattle Police Narcotics Division. Phoenix Jones, they claimed, was a drug dealer and had been for some time. Following the tip, a narcotics detective operating under the alias Mike began texting Phoenix with the intent of purchasing $500 worth of MDMA from the former hero. Jones requested $300 be transferred up front to his Venmo account. Days later, Phoenix arrived at the 3rd Avenue Starbucks to meet Mike. The whole interaction took less than a minute as Phoenix exchanged a brown paper bag for the remaining $200 in cash.
What's in there? Is there a cigarette in there? Is that what's buffing it?
Lab testing confirmed the substance in the bag to be what was advertised. The officer arranged a second meeting with Jones but had trouble following through. Jones would postpone or fail to appear at meeting locations even after accepting an additional $500 via Venmo transfer. A second persona was created, this time a female. Laura was more conversational and appeared impressed when Jones asked her to Google him, revealing that the individual she had agreed to purchase cocaine from was in fact a real-life superhero. After a few days of building rapport, a second meeting was scheduled. And at 11 p.m. on January 9th in the Silver Cloud Hotel, Phoenix Jones was arrested for possession of 4 grams of cocaine packaged with the intent to sell, along with various paraphernalia.
Hey, wait, what are y'all doing? No, I'm trying to catch him.
Phoenix Jones, shit! What did I do?
Posters on the R Seattle subreddit claimed to have known about Jones's involvement in such activities for years. Anyone who knew Ben knew about his side hustle, one poster wrote. He's been dealing for years and everyone knew it, wrote another. Many scoffed at the relatively small amounts of narcotics Jones was arrested for dealing. Some pointed out that there were more harmful drugs than MDMA being sold on the streets of Seattle. One poster claimed Jones carried other illicit substances, writing, "He once accidentally gave roofies to a friend, telling her it was Molly, which means he keeps it in his inventory." In a podcast titled Super Yourself, Dark Guardian host and longtime critic of Jones interviewed former Rain City superhero Midnight Jack, who appeared saddened yet unsurprised by the news.
I've known Ben for years. Like, we're talking almost 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, I've been shot at with Ben. I've been in shit. I've been in street fights. I've watched people die next to Ben. Like, I've seen a lot of stuff go down with him. So the fact that this is who he is now is extremely discouraging to me. And if you're a superhero in the Seattle area, it's over for you now. It's done.
As Jones's video logs and interviews attest, exposing drug dealers had been a prominent part of his crime-fighting efforts. Where had the impulse to enforce these ideals been coming from? Midnight Jack gave his interpretation.
How do you think he ended up this way? I think that he thought that this was going to work out. He was going to get really famous over this superhero thing. I think that was always the plan. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that he ever intended to not do his job, because I remember him being dead focused on his job, dead serious on it. After the Nicole Westbrook shooting, he started to get more distant and darker. Like, maybe that set off something in him.
Midnight Jack corroborated the claims that such activities had been going on for years, with the hero so unabashed he'd been seen dealing while wearing a Phoenix Jones t-shirt. Some found the irony humorous, but many of Jones's fans expressed anger and disappointment at the hypocrisy.
This is a hard one to talk about. Make my mouth dry.
Yeah, it's real sad. Real sad to see someone who kind of like stood up for justice and was a symbol. I mean, I feel like I'm talking about Batman right now, but he was.
Even Jones's arch-enemies seemed conflicted in their victory. Phoenix's booking records were posted to Reddit. Jones had been charged with violating the Uniform Controlled Substance Act, denied bail but given a conditional release. His initial hearing was scheduled for February 3rd. According to the King County records, Jones was found in contempt, spent 11 hours in jail, and released on a $1,000 bail. As of now, information available to the public regarding his case ends here, but the blow to Phoenix's reputation appears critical, as it's uncertain whether any future heroics would be taken seriously by his remaining audience. It seems, at least for now, that the story of Phoenix Jones has come to its unexpected conclusion.
Cops, sometimes they arrest the wrong person, right? I've never arrested the wrong person because I see the crime take place. I watch you hurt somebody. I watch you steal this. I watch you do these things. So it's not, to me, it's more exact justice.
Phoenix Jones has always been a divisive figure. Where his supporters saw bravery, his critics saw misguided recklessness. What many saw as a desire to inspire, others saw as a need for attention. And while his methods and motives are dubious, the influence of Phoenix Jones on the superhero community, despite his repeated attempts to distance himself from it, is difficult to overstate. With more costume heroes on the street now more than ever, many cite Jones as their direct inspiration. The practice has become so widespread that a training camp named the Superhero Foundry has opened in Las Vegas. Although according to their training footage, they seem to overemphasize the practicality of knife and tomahawk throwing during patrols. Some have claimed that with the fall of Phoenix Jones, the Seattle branch of the superhero movement is over. According to Midnight Jack, while he and the remaining members still perform acts of community service, their nights of wearing masks and bulletproof costumes are finished.
It's over. It's done. If you still want to go out and help your community, you can still do that, but you're not going to be able to do it in a costume. Walk around, oh, what am I? I'm a superhero. Oh, you like Phoenix Jones? You here to sell drugs?
If this is the case, they will be missed. But with a nightly presence on the streets of Seattle spanning a decade, and actions reportedly leading to over 100 arrests.
That's arrest 187, provable 187 for me.
The Rain City superheroes have shown us what an approximation of comic book vigilantes look like, however skewed they may appear in the real world.
Did you hit her in the face, bro?
No, I didn't do nothing, bro.
And it's unlikely the citizens, police, newscasters, and criminals of Washington state will soon forget the sight of black and gold rubber, the hiss of walkie-talkies, and the smell of pepper spray, which marks one of the strangest examples of life imitating art.
I got armor. I went out, I got gear. I got a legal team, studied the law for 6 months. I treated this like I was going to war.
And forever solidifies the decade Seattle was patrolled by Phoenix Jones and the Rain City superheroes.
If someone swings, everyone's getting pepper sprayed. Think about it before you do it. If y'all swing, someone's getting sprayed. It's better to just walk it off. You got a call on me, right? We don't really need this. This is dumb.
That's what every city needs. Someone just breaking up fights. Oh no, it's not finished yet. It's still coming.
I'd like to introduce Ryan Probert, who has begun providing original music for the channel. I couldn't be more grateful to Ryan for lending his skills to Atrocity Guide. You'll be able to find the score to this video as well as other original music on his YouTube channel, which I'll link along with the social media in the description below.
But either way, so I'm running in there and I'm going down, and I get right in the middle of the brawl, and they knock this guy over, and they kick him in the face, and they start punching him. I pull out the pepper spray, and I pepper spray the guy who's kicking him. That's it. My pepper spray is also really famous because it has.
So you're pepper spraying somebody who is attacking a citizen?
Absolutely, and I have it on video.
Did you say anything?
When I was running in, yeah, I told everybody call 911 as I'm running in, and then I said break it up, break it up, break it up.
Do you have like a superhero catchphrase? Here I come to save the day, stop evildoers.
I think it's more important to like accurately assess the situation than yell.
Spray first, say your phrase later.
Well, I'm accurately assessing the situation could be a catchy phrase.